This is another training session with Rosie the Pit Bull. You might recognize her from some of my other videos, and this is that little Chihuahua from some other videos as well. That's Rosie's owner there, and I'm off camera off to the right here getting Rosie out of the house to bring her out and introduce her to the Chihuahua. We weren't really concerned about Rosie having any kind of aggression toward the Chihuahua at all. The reason that I was controlling her like this was because she was super excited, and just because she was like so happy and excited and bouncing all over the place, it was really important for us to make sure that the little Chihuahua, not only stayed safe, meaning like Rosie could accidentally bump into the Chihuahua and actually hurt it, but also out of respect for the Chihuahua. I didn't want this big old excited pit bull coming up and leaning over the little dog and scaring it or making it feel nervous or anything like that. So it was very important to me, out of respect for the Chihuahua, to make sure that Rosie was being very respectful and calm, so that the Chihuahua didn't feel any anxiety about it. So you can see Rosie's owner here is doing a great job. He's just hanging out with the little dog, and she trusts him fully, and she's in a pretty good state of mind. Rosie is doing great considering how excited she is. She was just like wanting to bounce all over the walls. You know how some days dogs just seem to have extra energy, and that was how Rosie was being. And like I said, we weren't concerned that she had any ill intention. Like, she was like, all she wanted to do was go and give that Chihuahua like kisses and play with it. But I really wanted to make sure that she was going to be super duper chill. So that's why we're going through this exercise here. And all I'm doing is allowing these dogs to feel each other's presence, get some smells, and slowly work up to a face-to-face introduction. Now, the way that we did that was we let them share each other's space here for a little while in a calm way, but we didn't let them meet really yet. After this little bit here, we took them for a walk together and allowed them to just kind of do the dog thing side by side and kind of get a feel for each other that way. And that's really the best way to introduce two dogs, is to just take them for a walk together. And that way they're experiencing fun activity while there's also boundaries involved, and they're moving forward versus squared off nose to nose trying to figure each other out. And usually if you have two dogs and you're unsure if one is like too excited or one is too shy or this or that, just take them for a walk together, and it'll kind of calibrate their energy on the same wavelength. And then when you get back from the walk, the dogs will be like more on the same page, so to speak. Because if we were to just let the dogs meet right now, Rosie's excitement level is way too high, and she would start wanting to play around and probably wind up scaring the Chihuahua. And we definitely don't want that, because this Chihuahua over here is a little sweetheart of a dog, and so is Rosie. So it's really important for us to create an experience for them that's going to be like happy and enjoyable and like no stress. So you can see all we're doing here is taking a few minutes to just kind of give them a chance to just calm their energy using our energy as a model. So I'm talking with the owner here, explaining some different things. Believe it or not, when he adopted Rosie, the rescue organization told him that to not allow her around other dogs because she was like aggressive or whatever. So ever since he's had her, he's kind of had that thought in the back of his mind. I mean, if you're adopting a dog and the rescue organization says, hey, don't let this dog around other dogs, you know, the average responsible person is going to take that kind of seriously and, be mindful of it moving forward. The first time I met Rosie, within like a minute, I could tell that they were just being overly cautious. As I got the opportunity to work with Rosie, and you can go back to some of our earlier videos where she was demonstrating like a high level of excitement and prey drive to other dogs. But that definitely wasn't based on aggression. It was based on like a total exuberant desire to just like totally play and overwhelm other dogs with her energy. And it just seemed like way too much. And her curiosity, coupled with her lack of experience, could indicate to a less observant person that she might indeed have aggressive tendencies. But if you know what to look for and you have some experience with this kind of stuff, you can really recognize like the underlying current of what's going on with the dog's energy. And I was able to perceive that, she didn't have aggression. She had insecurity coupled with excitement, coupled with confusion, with some anxiety in there, and just some overall goofballness where she just didn't know how to be. And all those things are much easier to deal with than aggression. So as I worked with Rosie, I came at her from that level. I didn't treat her like an aggressive pit bull. I treated her like a dog that just needed to learn how things work. And if you watch some of the earlier videos with Rosie, you'll see that process unfold in real time. To the point where she became totally comfortable around other dogs, which is how I knew she was, right under the surface the whole time. So this exercise is helpful for not only the dogs, but it's helpful for the human, because he's really getting to understand like what would make someone think his dog had dog aggression and how he can interact and communicate with his dog so that she doesn't exhibit any of those signals, so that he can now open up her world and really let her be free, meaning like take her in places where he'll have the confidence to know that she's not going to cause any problems. Like, that's not who she is. But if he was carrying in his mindset that she was an aggressive dog, then her whole life would unfold in a different way. She would experience a lot more limitations. She'd be surrounded by a lot more peripheral anxiety from the humans in her space. And she would kind of like feel that sense of nobody trusts me. And, that could actually create problems. So when you're dealing with a dog, I mean, you don't want to fly blindly like, oh, everything's fine, and then ignore any warning signs. You want to have true confidence based on reality, but you want to get the most accurate picture of your dog so that you can create a reality that's fair to them. So you can see I'm holding both leashes, and the reason I'm doing that is because, I'm all about energy, and when I'm actually creating a tactile connection between these two leashes in my body, I'm being like literally like a circuit breaker or a conduit for the energy to flow back between these two dogs much differently than it would if they were connected to, like, if the other guy was still holding the dog. Now that might sound a little fluky to you, but it's not. Like, look at, imagine like an energy circuit, and you can see it goes from Rosie up the leash into my arm, through me, down my other arm, through the other leash, and into the little Chihuahua, and back and forth again. And because my presence is totally neutral and I'm not projecting any static into that current. These dogs are able to feel each other literally through these leashes, and it's an amazing thing. Like, the more you get into this whole dog training stuff, and I guess, let me say, I have two programs. I have the 4-Minute Mile and the Dog Mindset Training. Would be an example of the 4-Minute Mile, meaning sometimes somebody just needs to see it to believe it. And in that case, with this dog's owner, it's helpful for him to see his dog being super chill in all these different environments with other dogs, so that he can really internalize and embrace the reality that his dog is not dog aggressive, but his dog is going to need consistent leadership from him in order to maintain that state. And in terms of the dog mindset training, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. That's more about what we learn from our dogs than what we teach the dogs. But both of my programs are life-changing. And if you're interested in learning about more of them, I have some info on my website. But basically all we're doing here, we're getting ready to go for a walk. But I just know how important it is that the beginning of the walk sets the pace for the walk. So you can see I handed Rosie to the owner for the first time, because now she's calm again. And I want the owner to experience that feeling of connected to his dog while she's in a calm state of mind. Now, I told him, I said, pay attention, don't let your guard down, but relax and enjoy this experience. And now I forget why I asked for the leash back, but we're getting ready to load up and go for the walk. And when we get back, you'll see that the dogs have achieved like a total like comfort with each other, where I was comfortable to have the owner handling both dogs. And it was, like I said, we weren't worried that these dogs were going to fight or do anything violent towards one another. Neither of them have that nature. But I was worried that Rosie was going to get too excited, and all it would take was, like, how when a dog gets excited and they put their front paws down real fast with their butt up in the air and kind of flap their front paws on the ground up and down because they want you to chase them around. Like, if she did that kind of thing with the Chihuahua, not only would there have been the potential to like accidentally step on the Chihuahua, but she would have like totally overwhelmed this little dog, and we didn't want that. So that's why we were making sure that we just spent, and all it took, I think we spent like 12 or 13 minutes in the yard here before we went for the walk. And that's all it took. Now we got both dogs dialed in. They've met a little bit, but nothing crazy. And it was totally under our terms. And now we're getting ready to go for the walk. Here's where I turn the camera off. And when we had started going on the walk, I was initially filming, but it was just not the right time. Like, I decided to just put the camera away and focus on the dogs and talking with the owner, and I didn't want to be distracted by trying to keep the dogs in frame and such. So we just did the walk and enjoyed it for what it was, with no filming. And then when we got back to the house, I got the video camera out again, and I was like, let me get a little footage of this so that everybody can see how it all, finished up. Because you can see here, like, the owner is feeling totally calm. He's got both dogs super dialed in. The little Chihuahua, you can tell by the way she's facing, she's like totally feeling confident. She's not the slightest bit intimidated or overwhelmed. She had a fun walk. You can see when Rosie here goes up and sniffs her, the Chihuahua gave a little bark, but it wasn't like a weird bark, it was a play bark. And because Rosie's now fully calm, she didn't feel, weird about it. She was like, well, I don't want to play. I'm just going to sit on my owner's foot. Rosie definitely has some insecurity, and we're working through that. And you can tell by when the little Chihuahua gave her little bark there that Rosie was like, oh, I definitely don't want any problem from you. And that further illustrates what I was saying at the beginning of the video. Don't get the wrong idea that we had to separate these dogs for their safety. It was because Rosie was just really excited. And you could see by that little interaction there, Rosie has one of the best temperaments of any dog I've ever worked with. She is like a sweetheart dog through and through. Like, I don't know how else to say it. She's just absolutely awesome. So, you could see she's actually like submissive to the Chihuahua, which is funny because that's usually how it'll work. The little dog usually has more moxie, and it'll show these big dogs who's boss once everything is dialed in. It's pretty funny. So you can see the owner here, he's just vibing, man. He's just enjoying the experience. He's like, wow, I honestly would have never thought this was possible, but yet he's not resisting it. He's like, this is so awesome. It's such a beautiful combination. So I hope that video was helpful. The main thing to keep in mind when you're introducing dogs is to just be patient and recognize the fact that they are going to feed off of your energy. So if you're nervous, they're going to be nervous. And if you're calm, chances are you're going to have a good introduction. Thanks for watching. I hope you have an awesome day.